Hello, hello, hello. Divine greetings, and welcome to another Pranic reading as we are taking another look inside the Pranic World Book. And this is definitely one for the ages. These are the Pranic pages, reading from Cristiana Eltrayan, one of today's modern sages. And I trust that you'll enjoy as we evolve through the stages, right? This is Jerome Shaw, host of the Open Palm Podcast Motivator, meditator. And we are still on chapter 3. So if you have not yet heard the beautiful words of the introduction in chapter 1, since we've already begun, you can head back over there. Just check out the Pranic Pages playlist, and they'll be there for you. So much love. Let's see what it do. Pranic Nourishment. How to keep it safe. And as we're reading and proceeding, we'll just be informal about it. You know, we won't be abnormal about it, right? But we'll just allow this to be kind of like a conversation. We'll touch on a few highlights and we'll see what we see. Come on a journey with me. As we watch the play of Pranic Nourishment growing wider, going to mainstream media and mainstream science, we're also watching the feedback as it has grown stronger. Scientists participating in Pranic gatherings, mainstream media publications like Nexus France and New York Post filling up pages of interviews and information on prana, the resonance delegate path, an online scientific gathering, starting with a talk on Pranic Nourishment. Nassim Haramein, renowned scientist, going public about his pranic experience in research and so on. It's a lot to go on, right? It's a lot to grow on. On the other hand, people are called to become more cautious about how they treat this subject and their body in that respect. This is no longer a time for reckless games, fulminant declarations for acknowledgement or celebrity, or just out of the tendency to convince people of one's own beliefs. This is a time of conscious communication, of the knowledge that many people take things to extreme if they are not clearly explained and warned about how Pranic Nourishment works. We hear some strongly declare that for everyone, there's no longer need to take physical food and that we just eat for emotional, mental reasons. This might be true to some, but until that emotional or mental need is surpassed, one should not stop eating to starve his body. We cannot just rely on people discernment with such declarations. We need to add solid explanations, I like that, and tools to them. Because to some, statements like this are taken literally, and many feel guilty for eating as a consequence. You know, it's a bit defeating when we feel guilty for eating. But just understanding, you know, to one's own demanding that our growth in pranic living can be very outstanding. But that isn't to say you have to go that way. That isn't to say it must be so that way, but only to give it a voice and to let you know that you have a choice. We've seen many think that they're not good enough just because they've taken a little salad for lunch instead of being full on prana and surpass their emotional mental tendency or just their hunger. Well, that does not create a supportive field for more pranic intake, as the energy of guilt actually blocks the pranic influx. Now, let's talk about the ways that guilt may block, because there are so many ways that guilt and shame games and blame games can stop the energy from actually reaching the top, you know? Not who you think you are, but who you think you are not, right? So becoming wrapped up in identity and thinking that we are now very alone, and not just allowing for our own growth to be shown, allowing for the energy to make itself known, and thinking that there are sins for which we need to atone, right? What we all must know is that to some, encompassing more prana as nourishment is a process. And it has to do with several steps. Detoxing the body, getting rid of toxins and parasites supports the pranic field in your body. Going lighter in your diet, taking out animal products gradually or totally, then fried stuff, flours and sugars, then cooked food, and eventually you can go to fruits, juices, and prana. Regardless of what others might say, this is the safe way to do it. Detoxing the emotional field, the cellular memory, endocrines, and reproductive system, as well as all the chakras. Light must have a channel to pass through. Reprogramming the cells to know that prana is nourishment to them. They have been mentally conditioned to expect matter as nourishment for ages, right? There's so many stages throughout the ages. You might want to undo that before asking your body to go fully pranic. Eltrayan used to tell us this all the time at different retreats, you know, when people were feeling bad about wanting to eat. Understanding that the cells were trying to compete, right? That the cells in your body are under your government. Government meaning mind control. Govern, control, meant mind. Government. So you are governing the cells in your body through your spoken word, your beliefs, your knowings, your assumptions, your growings, your compunctions, right? Everything is designing your bodily function. So if you want to function on a different level, you might have to massage your mind a good few times to become more inclined to the divine, right? Not impossible, it just takes an amount of time. But allowing yourself, for your own mental health, right, to receive that and perceive that before you retrieve that. Applying daily tools to check your pranic percentage and see how much you're really nourished by prana. This might change constantly, depending on your activity or environment, or it might stay constant if you're fully stabilized on prana. The breath test is a really good tool, but it has to be well mastered before taking important vital decisions. Having a lifestyle, style of living, that supports this after you've done one or several pranic trainings, you still have to go home to your life and family. So your pranic intake might decrease gradually if you don't support it with some tools and daily practices at home. The tools and lifestyle are meant to keep you aligned to the pranic field. The pranic consciousness process and luscious lifestyle program contain the tools we recommend for keeping that frequency in your system. As we said, there might be other methods and practices, but as today we're talking about safety. Safety first, right? This is what we recommend. And as we always say in our conferences, if you're not fully nourished by prana, no big deal. Not all of us are compelled to do it now. We all might have this in the field of possibility, but some after 5 or 10 years, some when they grow older or align better with their environment, some in another lifetime. There's no rush. As we always have seen, there's a passage from this alignment and inner harmony to the pranic nourishment, and not the other way around. For this is only possible when our system is fully opened. After all, it's all a matter of alignment plus lifestyle and grace. Can't take grace out of the equation. Can't have one without the other. Keep it safe. So, allowing grace to keep it safe, to be able to create steps at your own pace, realizing it is all just a choice, but there's nothing to chase, right? Allowing yourself to face and embrace, and realizing even pranic nourishment is only a taste. So there's nothing to waste, right? Let this be your base. And just understanding that we create our own fate. Within you, you are already great. So continue and just appreciate. My journey with prana. So now we're getting into Cristiana Eltrayan's personal journey. So we were talking about different interviews and different things and different growings and knowings with other people and scientific understandings. Now we're touching on her actual journey. For those of you who were wondering about my journey, well, my journey with prana has been weird. Still, it's an interesting field of study. My first experience of living without food has happened when I was 14 and I lived with just one apple every couple of days and some cereal biscuit. Hey, you gotta risk it to get the biscuit. In very small quantities for quite a while. At that time, I was going through my parents' divorce. So I guess it was my way of transmuting and recalibrating the energies in the house. I can relate. For when our bodies increase frequency, we are able to raise the vibration of the biofields around us, in a house or our city, country, or even the planet. Then I went back to normal food after it was done, became a vegetarian at 17, and I was also meditating within a crystal every day. A technique I learned early in my paranormal searches about numerology, philosophy, art, palm reading, and other things that would draw my attention as a child. Then I forgot all about it at 19 when I got my first full-time job. Interestingly enough, in parallel with my full-time university studies. Right, she had a lot on her plate, right? I became far too busy and distracted to be able to focus attention on abstract things. Then, at 27 and 28, 10 years later, whole decade, I started meditating again and shifted back into vegetarianism and deeper daily spiritual practices that included a few hours of yoga, qigong, meditation, holistic study, therapy practice, and so on. This has shifted my vibration again to a rhythm that could integrate more prana in my body. Now, I definitely agree with this because when you're in a state that is much less stressed, it allows for the energy to greatly express. You know, I feel like that is when we are at our most best. That is when we start to earn compound interest. It was then that I met Jasmuheen, and I learned that there is a possibility of living without physical food. It seemed all natural to me, and I had no doubt that this was 100% possible. But I was not eager to try it. For me, at that time, the attention was focused on purifying my mind and structuring the aspects of my personality so that I can be more aligned and coherent to myself, with a capital S. 2 years later, I went into the darkroom retreat for the pleasure of the spiritual experience, as I knew it involved 10 days in silence and meditation in a dark room. So it seemed suitable and aligned to the practice I was having at home. There we lived on prana or juices, which was optional, for 10 days in pitch dark, which reminded me that I can go well without food, as I went home and did not have the need to eat for a month or so. I was just taking a juice or half a fruit per day, and some number of days I couldn't swallow any food, as there was a pure energy coming down my throat, nourishing my body and maintaining it in a very high state. I was going out, having meetings, organizing food-based events, as this was my job, roller skating, I love roller skating, and walking a lot. My body did not feel tired. Maybe sometimes it felt weird as I was releasing a lot of toxins and pain from my system, but the rest of the journey was fine. I did not have any ambition of being fully pranic. I still don't. I just enjoyed the possibility and the feeling of it while it was manifesting for me. So I did not push back into food for a while. One day, still, I gave in to the pressure and advice of a dear one and cooked myself a vegan meal. After having eaten some of it, I had such terrible pain in my body that I felt I was going to disintegrate. Whew. I would lay on the floor and pray. Dang, just laying and praying. Golly, you hear what I'm saying? As there was nothing else I knew or had the power to do. And finally, after some prayers, the pancreas released the pain and things went back to normal. Now, this is definitely something to point out because I've heard other people talk about this before. You know, after a process, after a procedure that one might say is almost like energy surgery. You know, it's a delicate procedure to have your energy worked on at that level, or to detox to the level where what you might have been comfortable with before, what might have been totally fine before, has all of a sudden now become toxic, right? There were times where I had been without solid food for a long time, and then I went back and just had something that used to be normal and had this kind of pain where, I mean, I felt like I was suffocating. I felt like I was dying. Like there's no way back. Like I can't go back to where I was. You know? There was a feeling like, oh, I messed up. Like there was a feeling like they won't get me to the hospital fast enough. Like, is the emergency room down the block? It's still too far. It felt like that. Like something was lodged into my body and it couldn't make its way down, right? like some sushi or whatever, you know? But I had been without solids so long that when I reintroduced solids back into my system, now they had to integrate again. They had to assimilate again. And it was almost as if my body was saying, what's the point? Like, again? Weren't we just being nourished by nature? Weren't we just being nourished by light? Now you want us to work and to fight, right? Now you want us to force when we were just drinking straight from the source? So I realized, of course, it's gonna be different. And just enjoying your process, letting it be what it is at the time that it needs. Because your body ultimately lets you know when to proceed. I was doing daily meditation, yoga, or qigong, or meditative dance as movement. I was spending at least 1 hour in nature, in long walks, or just reading outside. I took 1 day of mana, which is silence, each week, a habit that I still practice now, and used mantras and music to recalibrate my mental and emotional body. Also, I felt deep devotion and trust in my light being friends that included Mother Mary, the Christed One, Kuan Yin, Saint Germain, and a group of angelics that would guide me through my journey at that point. So prayer, or this type of friendly communion with them, was a big part of my lifestyle at that point. At some point, my body slowly transitioned back to vegan food. Now, I want to point this out real quick. She said my body at some point slowly transitioned back to vegan food. So when we become lighter and lighter and lighter, you know, and the vibe raises higher and higher, and we no longer are attuned, and soon we no longer have room for the things we used to indulge ourselves with before, for the ways we had the bulge, right, with ourselves before. Now, when we are drinking from a lighter source, from the lighter force, it takes time to become realigned with the other vibration. It takes time to go back, and it takes time to feel that once again, because the body has had to heal that once again. But understanding that it doesn't mean that you can never go back, but it might be painful, you know. So one might say that each has their way, but if there comes a day when you feel left out, when you again want to put some solid food in your mouth, just do it at your own discretion. Don't allow your feeling now to fall into depression. Understand how far you've gone in your energetic progression. Because for most of our lives, eating has been a profession, right? We're professionals. We're very good. So it's not to say what you should or what you would, but to understand what you could. Allow yourself to let go. And in its own time, these things will flow. right? So at some point, my body slowly transitioned back to vegan food as my mind and emotional system were not ready for a full pranic living. But this time, it was very light, very conscious way of eating. More like small quantity snacks, and I would know exactly what my body needed and what emotion was triggered by each food. Almost like playing with the octaves in a song. That was in 2013. Since then, my body knows when to fully go on prana, and it basically acts like a hybrid car. When it's time for work, large masses of people, it goes on prana or juices. No need for food for days or weeks. When I get into a warmer emotional environment, maybe friends, family, going out, it wants to have fun with tasting, and I give it some light food, maybe a soup or a light snack, maybe some sweet stuff like hot chocolate or fruits with chocolate cream. It likes it, and it doesn't become cluttered because I use small amounts and it's quick to transmute. Now, becoming more resolute with the things we transmute, allowing the body to integrate and compute this information and have this integration with that kind of consumption. Just understanding that, you can listen to your body, you can hear your body, you can talk to your body. I never knew this. I never knew that as I walked with my body, I could actually talk to my body and that my body was listening, And through time, we start to become more defined in the ways that we speak to ourselves. In the ways that you can start to tell what your body is saying. For after all, it's a big game that we're playing, right? So, I also do a magic trick. Let's hear what this magic trick is. Whenever I ask, or whenever I eat, I ask that the food is transformed into the most beneficial energy for me. Or I offer it to some light friend that I know liked that food while on earth. For example, Mother Mary likes oats and cinnamon. And it naturally transmutes and nourishes that divine part of me. Because at the energy level, we're all one. And they're all aspects of myself. So transmuting food is so easy and fun to practice. And this is something that I also do. I learned from Miriam Patel. Shout out to Miriam. And it is like speaking to something right before you consume it. Going back to Masaru Emoto with the water experiment. All these things have water. We have water. So the way you speak to yourself, you can also speak for your health. You can also speak into something before you imbibe it. You can program it. Health, abundance, energy, vitality, love, health, abundance, energy, vitality. You can say things like, I love my body, I respect my body, I protect my body, I honor my body, I cherish my body, I nourish my body. And you can put this love energy into whatever you're about to consume. And you'll feel that vitality coming through your system. This way, I don't keep myself fixated in any system or belief, and I have the freedom to choose my fuel. I feel I have nothing to prove to myself, and my consciousness goes beyond food. Plus, to fully trust my body, that it naturally goes to the pranic state when it needs to, is the biggest gift to me, as it keeps me away from mental, personal ambitions. For a while now, I am just having juices and smoothies made of fruits and seeds, and I'm feeling great. I still enjoy tasting and having fun with friends, but when busy or in my natural state, my body prefers not to have to digest. I've never been into binging or craving for the past few years, so when my body asks me for some specific fruit, sweet, or soup, I fully trust that there is a purpose to it, and oftentimes it helps connect to the energy of a person or a country that frequently uses that nourishment, like an energy synthesization. My body has had interesting experiences during these journeys. I have experienced becoming immaterial or invisible a few times. We talked about this in our interview. I tagged our interview below if you want to see that. And sometimes this has happened on the street, almost getting hit by a bus in the process. That's wild. This is all natural, as when our cells change frequency, they can literally be in another vibration. And cases have been reported when people would literally dematerialize their bodies only to appear again later, sometimes in another location. That sounds like teleportation, right? This is a natural result of a frequency shift, and as our bodies go more from a carbon-based to a crystal-based structure, this experience will be more frequent to some. Also, I have experienced sensing the temperature and fragrances of a different place on the planet, as if I was physically there, although my physical body was present at home. Also, my friends have reported seeing me in a gathering while my physical body was at home. They would describe my outfit and hair as if I would literally be there. I am not always aware of these journeys. Sometimes my consciousness travels so vastly that my mind doesn't keep track of it at all. This happens to most of us. But I later get hints and clues of my journeys, and they are very useful for my physical journey as well. Some of them are widely reported in my book, Believe in Miracles. So to me, pranic consciousness is much more than the state of living without food. It's literally about how vast and wide your consciousness can encompass and how kind and loving you can be in the physical plane. But I got a little distracted here talking about my experience. Let's go back to the pranic world, shall we? Pranic portals. As I participate to all the Pranic Festivals that are created, I am in awe to see how wonderful these are manifesting in the subtle planes. In case you might not know that, a Pranic Festival is an event where people who have had pranic experiences, not needing physical food or as nourishment, and also those who are interested in this reality, gather together and share knowledge. And I definitely enjoyed my time at the Pranic World Festival in Italy. I will definitely say it is worth it to find yourself amongst a community of individuals who are learning and growing and evolving themselves in this way. You know, it pays to be able to be around others who are nourishing each other as well. So far, there have been festivals in California, Italy, Belgium, Romania, and there are still to come in Spain, England, Hawaii, and probably Japan, as far as I see. Usually a festival is held upon an important energy vortex. It is the vortex that calls the event, and this is how it is manifested. Therefore, as we gather together, we are held and supported by the energy of the place. But what I've noticed is that not only the place supports the people, as the people gather and maintain their focus and attention on the pranic consciousness and pranic living, new grids of energy are built that are also supporting the place and the planet. So when I was first in Italy, I saw this big energy tapestry building upon the setting of the festival. And with each day, it was enhanced and nurtured by our intention and attention. Towards the last day, it was connecting into the planetary grid and setting a new frequency around the planet. Then the next year, as I came back, I saw it grow bigger as the festival lasted longer and there were more people participating. As it grew bigger, its resonance into the planetary grid grew stronger, and it was really a blessing to see how it was then connecting into the main planetary chakras, nourishing new energies into them and being nourished by them as well. I then saw the same pattern in the Pranic Festival in Belgium a few days later, and then we organized one in Romania. The Pranic Festival in Romania was one of the strongest as it connected into a very important energy point of resonance that is already connected to the main vortices of the planet. The people here were focused diligently, following all workshops, long-time meditators, and energy practitioners whose souls were ready for the next level. As I continued into the portal, while holding a conference, my whole being went into bliss as I could see fireworks patterns all over the planet as it activated the connection with all the other festival points and main planetary vortexes. My eyes were filled with wonder as I witnessed so much beauty, like an energy symphony that was created all over the world. The moment was magical and blissful for many of us. Each year, the energy of these vortexes gets stronger as it connects to all the other ones and is enhanced by people's focus. And what we focus on the longest grows the strongest, am I right? These energy doors allow closer contact to the light beings and intergalactic friends, and also help more people to evolve quicker as they open to this and connect into the planetary grid. Their frequency is so strong and perfect, and it resonates in such harmony that it eventually repatterns and recalibrates the frequencies of all the ones participating and builds a field of upliftment and positivity around the world. Hey there. There's a beautiful squirrel. Much love, my friend. Hey there. The result is not only an increase in nourishment, this little guy, he wanted to hear our talk. Hey, buddy. He's just hanging. He's like, what y'all talking about? The result is not only an increase in nourishment awareness. Ooh. Oh, snap. Whoa. Wow. Hey, the energy is high right now. Much love. People massively going from omnivorous food to vegetarianism. Sure, you can listen in. Raw veganism or prana, but also a leap in planetary consciousness. And that is the foundation of new, sustained evolution. As we now prepare the next Pranic Festival in Romania, more people will learn how to work with these pranic grids to fuel information into them and be fueled back by their planetary connection. Beautiful. Finally, a warning. She gives a disclaimer here at the very end. After having published the Darkroom Retreat book in its first edition, I received some questions that made me see the necessity of adding a warning regarding the books on pranic nourishment. The experience of pranic nourishment being without the need of physical food, is a peculiar and for many an extreme one. It's one of the don't try this at home things that you want to get informed about before proceeding to. Taking part in such a process implies a harmonious preparation that, for me, consisted in years of profound detoxifying, not only with my diet, but also at the energetic level. To others, it may be different, but to me, that's how it was. As I realized this, and I felt it's good to write about this, that it might help those interested in the subject. That is why the don't try this at home warning comes again, as I feel to stress that without studying and researching in the field of energetic or pranic nourishment, without an impeccable mind-body connection, and with no previous training in the energy field, this type of exercise can be risky when done with no supervision. Therefore, this book is only meant to tell the story of a possibility. And those who are open to this possibility can find here some information on how they can make a gradual transition to a lighter diet, but also to a higher frequency before proceeding to it. Because after all, the whole process is not about eating or not eating, but about ways of accessing a higher state of consciousness. And thus, we conclude our look into the Pranic World Book with Cristiana Eltrayan. Thank you so much once again. Much love for listening and glistening, my friend. Thank you for just being and breathing in this space as we took a look at this wisdom in this modern age, as we are all rising to a whole new stage. Thank you, Cristiana, for being a sage. And thank you for turning the page.